Babe, let's move on to the next topic, inshallah. Sam, so we've talked a lot about stocks and Islamic finance in previous episodes. I know Mohamed's gonna really, get upset because these are weak
asset
classes. I'll call it to Mohamed and yourself. But just so we know what's going on and we can kind of just highlight some of the stuff that is happening in the Muslim world. So there's halal stocks, right? This is like a consultancy,
advisory,
right? Tell us a bit about what they do. And then we're going to compare that, if we can compare it, with some of the other stuff, like, for example, Wahid in the UK and Manzil in Canada. Let's understand these things a bit, just so our audience can make informed decisions about where they place their money and so on and so forth.
Right, Sheikh. So I think, just to be fair, what I feel like, because I have seen Wahid's early days, Alhamdulillah, Wahid Invest from 2016-17 to what it is now. I think the Islamic finance, when it comes to investing in equities and stocks, in the last 10 years or so, it went through 4 small eras, or 3, but I think it should jump into the 4th one now. Okay, Sheikh?
Okay.
So the first one being era of accessibility. Okay. And that's what Wahid Invest was the pioneer and the leader. Okay. What do I mean by that? So basically making Sharia screened stocks. I wouldn't say Sharia compliant necessarily, because it's the scholar's job to do that. And many scholars differ if it's Sharia compliant or no. But Sharia screened stocks, and then making it a completely regulated platform. Regulated being the underlying word here, where it's a regulated platform, like completely licensed, regulated, robo-advisor, where they have Sharia screened out of the S&P 500, I think 200 plus stocks. So you put in $100, it's only going to those 200, and it's going through a licensed and regulated platform. Okay, Sheikh? Safe, secured, like nobody's going to knock on your door. FBI is not coming. Interpol is not coming. Nobody's coming to investigate, like, why are you investing here? So this was the first of its kind. Okay. Like, nobody has done it before Wahid Invest. Robo-advisors, Sharia screened stocks.
What is a robo-advisor?
Robo-advisor meaning they have already screened the stocks and the allocation, what they think is good, like a Robinhood, but with those Sharia screening and everything. Okay. And for its time, it was the first one. So they paved the path for everyone else to even think, like, globally, okay, how can I bring global Muslims together? How can they invest? Because before that, in Western English-speaking world, nobody even understood, what do you mean Sharia screened stocks? Like, why should stocks be not Sharia compliant? We know interest is not Sharia compliant. Okay, loans, why should stocks be not Sharia compliant?
They brought the conversation
They brought even the conversation to the table. Absolutely, Shahan. This is the hardest thing to do. When there is no proof of concept, when you're at zero, to even bring the conversation, make it mainstream, that's the word I was looking for, they did it. So that was the era of accessibility, right, Sheikh? Then it moved to era of, what I would say, credibility. Okay. So era of credibility. Now that it's there, how do you make it credible? So again, mashallah, that's what Wahid Invest, Manzil, Wahid Invest, what they did, they got funding from Aramco. I think they got $10 million check from Aramco. Aramco's investing arm, Wahid Ventures. They got $10 million. Their valuation increased. They did the pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B funding. Then they added other ventures to it. It's not only stocks anymore. Now you can invest in other businesses. They recently launched the real estate. And they got some good named scholars and celebrities and athletes to promote them, right? That are well known throughout the world. So the credibility. So that was the era of accessibility, then era of credibility. Now it's credible. Now it's not like just a robo-advisor that nobody knows anything about. Then the third one, where it became very interesting, is basically era of transparency, right? Where I think this is where most Gen Zs we talked about last time, and even where the world is heading, people not only want to know, okay, how are you doing financially? People want to know, how are you doing socially? So that's where ESG comes in, right? How are you picking stocks or picking companies? ESG? Environmental, social, and governance. Basically, how are you socially? Okay, we understand you're financially very strong. Tell us your company. How do you govern the people? What's your rules? What's your code of ethics? How do you care about the environment? Do you care about social implications of you doing business in a certain country and things like that?
Weapons, for example, weapons companies that are,
exactly. Then add to that BDS movement, which Halal Stocks Co has done, because they've realized, I feel like, okay, accessibility is already there. Credibility is already there with other companies. What can we bring different? Okay, let us bring transparency. We're not going to only Sharia screen based on debts and all that. We're going to also screen based on what? ESG and BDS.
So what's BDS?
BDS, Sheikh, I'm not too familiar of the boycott. I don't know.
Boycott, divest, and sanction.
Yes. So basically, the companies that support the Zionist organization or the country, like openly and
on the
invest
boycott list, not basically investing or buying stocks in those countries.
Correct.
So, but why is that of importance?
I think
why should we care? Why is that even a
of course,
USP?
and that leads also to the fourth point where we should go. I don't think we should only stop at being transparent, right, Sheikh? I think the fourth step we should think of going is era of institutionalizing. What do I mean by that? Basically, two words: control and creation. So all these things, if you see, Sheikh, what we have done so far, we have screened other stocks. Okay, we have found ways how to invest in those other stocks in a Sharia compliant way, right? What we have essentially become is fund of funds. Okay, we have become aggregators, meaning, okay, so there's this company, Apple, Microsoft. We're going to pool all of our funds in a Sharia compliant way, but we're going to invest in their governance, in their infrastructure, in their ecosystem. Okay, I think we need to go into the era of now creating our own institutions where we're not playing in their rules, we're creating our own rules. Like it's in our field we're playing. For example, like Brother Zarir has a startup company, right? So when we're investing in ventures, we're not finding ways only like, okay, how do I collect $100 million in a Sharia compliant way and invest in John's company that we have no idea, like whatever, right? But well, it's Sharia compliant way. We have structured the fund, you know? But what is this fund doing? It has become a fund of funds. It's going out of our ecosystem. Now we need to institutionalize it and keep that fund within our ecosystem where we create the rules, where we have the control and creation. We create it and we control it the way we'd like to control it. I think we have to move to that stage. And there's a lot of fund of funds that way. So I consider Wahid Invest also a fund of funds. You're putting fund together, but that is going outside. So it's acting like an aggregator, not like
creating one extra filter, one extra layer.
And you
filter.
talked about it actually last week, bro. Like aggregator concept, right? Like the Saunders when we talked about it. You're basically just an aggregator. You're making it very secure, structured, which was needed, which is all is needed. You have paved the path for us. Now I think we need to go beyond and create our own institutions. So we invest that structure that we have created, we invest it back into what we are actually doing.
So Barakallah Fi, the reason why I wanted to discuss this, right, is because, and you've touched on some of these themes, but I just want to expand them a bit more.
Yep.
Is because I feel like there's a huge silver lining here. There's a huge silver lining here. So Wahid gets a lot of criticism for what you mentioned, right? Which is that you're just fundamentally funding the outsiders.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like ultimately, when this capital gets deployed into the S&P 500, it's those companies that are making money. And you're just getting some scraps, you know, like 5%, 6%, 7% returns or whatever have you. But fundamentally, Muslim money is going into their ecosystems. I was speaking with Brother Umar Suleiman, who's the head of risk and compliance.
Chief Risk Officer.
At Wahid, right? He mentioned something very interesting to me. He said, there's thousands of top companies in the world. And from amongst them, there's only one Muslim one, which is Aramco. But 1/3 of the funding of those companies comes from Muslims. So 1/3 of the top companies in the world is being funded by Muslims, whereas only one of them is actually a Muslim company. So definitely what you're saying, it has credence to it, right? But what I love about what Wahid done is that they actually did, you know, it's always harder to walk before you can run.
Of course.
They walk, so many people can run after. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's very easy to point the finger. And look, just so everyone knows my position, I'm not convinced in the, you know, apparent Sharia compliance, you know, standards of these stocks. As in, you know, the whole, you can have
X% of debt
Riba,
and debt.
up to a third, or just below a third, and 5% in other things. I'm not convinced by that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are scholars that pass those fatwa. There's valid difference of opinion amongst the scholars, and you know, no inkar fi masail ijtihad. If there's an issue which is ijtihadi, it's a contemporary issue, and there's actual scholars that adhere to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and they're not doing this based on their desires. There's actual evidences that they're using. It's not something I'm going to have a quarrel over. But I love how now people are starting to be like, well, you know what? Because again, I'm not sure if Wahid invests in companies that are on the boycott list. I don't know. But I also haven't seen them say they don't.
Right.
But this is obviously a concern that Muslims had. So Halal Stocks has now come out and said, look, we're going to screen for, even though they don't take your money, they just give you advice, strategic,
Right.
kind of.
They're like Motley Fool, like a Muslim version of Motley Fool, the advisor.
Okay.
Yep.
So, but they're looking at these Islamic sensitivities and say, Islam Muslims actually care about where this money goes. We don't want it to go to Zionist entities. Now the thing is, what's the next stage? What's the next stage? What's the next thing that we're going to do? But go on, Zarir.
Two things. One, definitely they're gonna, once as time passes and if they're successful and they get more popular, very likely they'll become another Wahid. In terms of taking funds and investing, because obviously
You're talking about Halal Stocks?
Yeah, you need to, from a business model, there's more money that way, far more. But what I wanted to say is, I'm gonna, again, use my observation skills to call a spade a spade. Okay? There's one rule for Muslim companies that are $10 million revenue, $100 million, $1 billion, $10 billion. And then there's another set of rules for people who are underneath that. You get me? I'll give you an example. Brothers who are starting off, for them, it's haram for them to have a guy in an advertisement that's showing his belly button or his knee. No, don't work with that company. Don't work with that company. But then if you look at some of the biggest companies in the world that are Muslim owned, do you think they don't have free mixing in their companies? Do you think they don't have women in their advertisements? Do you think, on top of that, do you think they don't have riba-based loans? Yet, AWFI standards allows you to invest in those companies.
Really?
Correct? Yes. You just said it. Depending on a certain percentage, according to scholars. That's riba. Yeah, but then the small guy that needs the loan, like I'll give you an example. Us today at Bani Auto Part, we, alhamdulillah, we have today, our next move is to provide credit to the biggest, the clients that we have, the dealerships in the UAE. They do insurance accident repair they repair vehicles from insurance companies. The insurance companies pay them 90 days late. They're paying us for the parts cash upfront. Can you imagine how terrible their cash flow cycle is? They need credit because they're getting paid 90 days later. They need credit. There are solutions out there called invoice factoring. Okay. Where I can go to a bank, to a non-banking financial institution and say, look, I have invoices from the biggest companies in the UAE. Rustamani, Galadari, and the list goes on. You got it? I'll give you the invoice today. They're going to pay me in 30 days. You give me the money today. 100,000 dirhams. You give me 98. You take 2. I'm cool with that. They'll be like, cool, let's do it. You got what I mean? But I can't do it. Because it's riba. 100%. But there's no halal option. Do you get what I mean? But the biggest, no, there isn't. No, there.
I'd like to hear your thoughts.
We come to it. Now, but that's me, Zarir. Now, if I go to a Sheikh, a Zarir, say, you can't do that, brother. Not allowed. But if I'm now on the Forbes top 100 and I have a huge business empire, then all of a sudden, as long as I take...
No, that's not true.
As long as I have 30%, less than 30% or something like that.
No, that's
see what I mean?
I'll tell you, that's not true at all.
I'm investable.
No, that's not true at all, bro. It's not true at all.
But Sheikh, I have a quick question before you go to that. Invoice factoring, in that definition, what makes it riba?
I was just going to ask that.
What makes it riba? So invoice factoring is, like, I'm going to get, let's say I'm selling my off-plan units. I'm going to get the 2,000 dirham per square foot, but I have to wait 5 years post-handover because I did a post-handover plan, right? I'm going to get 2,000 dirham in 5 years. A guy comes in and says, hey, Sam, I'll buy you out because I specialize in collecting debts. This is not your specialty. You're just a real estate developer. Keep doing what you're doing. I specialize in that. Take 1,800 dirham per square foot today.
Yeah.
Give me your accounts.
I don't see how, I don't
what's
see how
riba
that's
there?
riba.
Yeah, no, look, on this particular situation, you present it to a scholar, you see what the fatwa is. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, we want you to tell us.
The definition. The definition of riba is making money out of money.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? That's the definition of riba. But in that case, as Brother Sam mentioned, how you're not making money out of money.
Muhammad said it's okay, we're going to do it.
No,
Jokes aside. I'm saying if it's permissible, it's permissible. No one's got the right to make it haram. I'm not familiar with this particular Mansura, as they call it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna comment on something I haven't looked into, nor am I qualified to do so. If you're thinking of investing in real estate right now, it's risky because of all the issues that are going on in the world. The real estate market is volatile and at risk. Unless you're thinking of investing in Dubai. Whatever happens around the world, with Allah's permission, His fadl, alhamdulillah, Dubai real estate market keeps on thriving. Brother Sam Amin, one of the members of this panel, you guys have seen him before, Sakina Developments, $150 million in assets under management, is doing his second development project here in Majan. Now, here's the really cool thing. From an allocation perspective, from a fundraising perspective, this project is almost at the finish line. There is only 3 million dirham left to raise. Now, here's why you should get in now, in my humble opinion, before this window closes. 2 reasons. Number 1, the second project that's ready is not going to give you 50% returns, inshallah ta'ala. The returns are going to be good, they're going to be healthy, it's going to be safe, it's going to be secure, inshallah ta'ala, but it won't be as good as this one right here. The second thing is that future investment opportunities are going to be prioritized for guys that are already invested in this particular project. They're going to get the first option to be able to invest. And when they see those gains coming back, inshallah ta'ala, they're going to be very motivated to deploy their capital again, as has happened for Sam historically in the US, alhamdulillah. His investors have become millionaires. Some of them were just middle-class folks that have now become extremely wealthy, Allah barik, on the back of investing, and there's no riba involved. So right now, if you are considering investing in real estate and you don't want to deal with the risks and the stress of the real estate market around the world due to all of this, the terrible things that are taking place, Dubai is thriving. And Sam is providing you a riba-free opportunity, alhamdulillah, with 50% returns. There's only 3 million dirham left. Only 3 million dirham left. They've already raised the overwhelming majority. So you can get involved now. At the link below, apply to speak with one of his team members, inshallah. And hopefully Allah puts barakah in this for you and, it's successful. With that said, may Allah bless you. Let's get back to the podcast. But in terms of what you said, Akhi, I disagree with what you said, bro. Like, for example, Wahid, firstly, there is a school of thought, bro. There is a madhab that allows investing in that way, bro, where up to a third of that company's, was it liquidity or
assets? Basically,
assets is down to riba, and they have evidences, bro, and they have scholars, and I don't agree with it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Bro, I'd like to agree with it. I don't agree with it, but I'd like to, because it's in my interest to, but I don't.
Hear me. I'm saying, and they've had mashayikh from day one, bro.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between what you're saying, right? I'm saying if someone, it's not like, the fatwa got passed on their behalf. The person's going to bet.
No, I'm not saying that, Chief. What I'm saying is that.
What are you saying? Because that's what it sounds like.
I'll give you an example related to Wahid. You're going to beep the name of this company, okay? It's one of the biggest food companies in the world.
Right.
One of the biggest food companies in the world. When you walk into the supermarkets, most of the FMCG products that you see inside those, they own it.
Yeah.
Even the ones that you would never imagine, and it's Muslim owned.
Mm-hmm.
It's Muslim owned. And the family they're incredible Muslims. Incredible Muslims. They've invested in my company as well, Bani Auto Part, and they were one of the early investors in Wahid. They invested more in Wahid than they did in me. It's okay. Maybe that will change.
Someone has
soon.
Mixed feelings.
But the point is that today they're having a debt restructuring. They're like incredible Muslims. Incredible Muslims.
Where are they from?
I've heard they're from India. The amount of charity that they do, that I know. God knows what I don't know. And it's never publicized.
Mm-hmm.
And like in the headline scene, they're having debt restructuring. We're talking in the billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
The billions of dollars, debt restructuring. Okay? So 2 things about that. Now, why are they doing debt restructuring?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because they're in a tight situation? I don't think so. I think that, and this is a smart move to do, when you're that big and you're too big to fail, even though you have billions of dollars of debt on your books, you control that debt. It doesn't control you. Because you're, if you go south,
a lot of people
they don't get their money. They don't get their money back.
Mm.
So they can renegotiate terms. We can say, no, we're going to pay you back after 50 years. We're going to be dead by then anyways. Or we're going to pay you back on this rate instead of that, which is what they're doing, which is apart from being very good Muslims, they're incredibly smart. They didn't reach that level, we're talking, the high tens of billions of dollars group without being incredibly smart, and Allah's tawfiq. But they're restructuring debt. Even them, they use debt to get to where they are. Now, I was speaking to the family member who invested in Bani Auto Part just last week. I told him, I'm like, this is the situation. We need to be able to provide credit so that we can scale quickly. And we'll have incredible margins as well. Because the cash price, credit price, is not the same. And so I said, I'm looking for a Sharia compliant solution. He said the Sharia compliant solution will be more expensive than the conventional one. It's like, if you can find it. You see what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is that, I don't have a credit card. I don't even have a credit card. Do you get me? But if you, Bu Maryam, and me, we want to see, and everybody else on this panel, we want to see more Muslim companies like the one that I just mentioned at that level. How can they do it?
Look, he's a prime example of people. In order for him to do what he does, the real estate development space, the whole thing is riddled with the riba, bro. And not only that, he gives 50%, bro, to his investors. Whereas a bank would take how much from you? 5%?
4.5%.
4.5%. But he didn't.
But I want to mention one more thing, Sheikh, if you allow me. Oh, actually, finish it. I'm sorry.
I'm saying, bro, that's a weak excuse, bro. There's always a solution to it. It's always a solution. And you keep saying that they're good Muslims. They'll be better Muslims if they don't do riba. They should fear Allah Azza wa Jal, bro. Because it's not worth the hellfire. It's not worth the hellfire. Riba is not a joke. It's not a joke at all under any circumstance.
Yeah,
and just, no, 1 second. I actually just want to go to this, because one of the things that we're incorporating now, inshallah, in every single episode is just some reminders, right, to people that make money. And the one that I have here, I think, is actually very, very relevant to this thing that you're mentioning. By the way, this is not directing this to you. It's just the notion, the concept.
Bro, I'm a man, bro. You can direct anything to me. I ain't going to be emotional about it.
This is a very important point. So the reminder here, it's from Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahulah's book, Ad-Dawa Ad-Dawa. It's actually about people that have money. People that have blessings that have been given to them by Allah Azza wa Jal. But they become deceived and thinking that they're in a good place with Allah. They get deceived into thinking that they're in a good place in this life and the next because of the blessings that they've been given. So Imam, I'm going to just read a few things. It's not going to take long, but I think it's appropriate now. He said, قال أبو الوفاء ابن عقيل. Ibn Aqil, a great Hanbali Imam, he said, احذره. He said, be cautious of Allah. ولا تغتر. And do not be deceived. I.e. by Allah's mercy. فإنه قطع اليد في 3 دراهم. Allah commanded for the hand of a man to be what? Cut off because of a quarter of a gold coin. Because of what? A quarter of a gold coin, i.e. 3 silver coins. وجلد الحد في مثل رأس الإبرة من الخمر. And for a person to be lashed for taking the smallest amount of alcohol. وقد دخلت امرأة النار في هرة. A woman was entered into the hellfire because of a cat she didn't feed, bro. واشتعلت الشملة نارا على من غلها وقد قتل شهيدا. A man at the time, Prophet he died as a shaheed, as a martyr, but he had taken from the war booty an imama. And the Prophet said, it's going to be hellfire for him. And the guy died as shaheed, bro. So a person shouldn't think.
And he took a turban.
Turban, bro.
For those who
know. A turban. And it's going to be fire for him. And he died. He gave his flesh for Allah's sake in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? So, Imam bin said, وهذه الكلمة الواحدة يتكلم بها العبد يهوي بها في النار أبعد ما بين المشرق والمغرب. A man can say a statement and it will take him into the hellfire, or make him drop into the hellfire distance that's greater than the distance of the east and the west. Right? He said, وَرُبَّمَا اتَّكَلَ بَعْضَ الْمُغْتَرِّينَ عَلَى مَا يَرَى مِن نِعْمِ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ فِي الدُّنْيَا. And he said, it could be that sometimes some of these people that are deceived, they get deceived by some of the blessings Allah has given to them in the dunya. Look at my money, must mean Allah loves me, Allah honors me. And look, I give charity as well. Allah must love me so much. Look at this houses that I have. You must have seen how many rich people that take riba somehow think that they're so good with Allah. I don't know if you've seen this. Sometimes you see the most people that have done some of the greatest sins, bro. Allah ka fazala, they say in Pakistan, right? They say by the fadl of Allah. And the guy's a shaitan. The guy's a shaitan, but he gives what? He gives one to sadaqah. He prays what? Jum'ah here and there, and so on and so forth. He said, وَأَنَّهُ لَا يُغَيَّرُ بِهِ. ويظن أن ذلك من محبة الله له. He thinks that all this, Allah loves me, right? وأنه يعطيه في الآخرة أفضل من ذلك. And he thinks in the akhirah Allah is going to give me more than Allah is giving me here. وهذا من الغرور. He said this from deception. And then he mentions that the Prophet ﷺ said, إذا رأيت الله عز وجل يعطي العبد من الدنيا على معاصيه ما يحب فإنما هو الاستدراج. The Prophet ﷺ said, Hadith Muslim Imam Ahmed, that if you see Allah has given a slave something from the dunya and he's sinning and Allah has given him things that he loves, فإنما هو استدراج. Then it is what? Istidraj. What's istidraj? Istidraj is one of the scariest punishments that Allah gives, and it's one of the severest punishments that Allah gives. You know why? Because it comes out of nowhere. Istidraj, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, سَنَسْتَدْرِجُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ إِنَّ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ. Allah said this is one of Allah's plans against His enemies that's very mighty. And how is it mighty? Subhanahu wa ta'ala. By Him allowing you, giving you more. And let me give you more. You want more? Let me give you more. Let me give you, oh, you want more money? I'll give you more. But it's whilst you're sinning. It's to deceive you and thinking, you know what, Allah loves me. So He keeps giving. He keeps giving success. Doors keep opening. Women keep coming in. Cars keep coming. Deals keep coming. His status keeps rising. And he is thinking, I'm good. And then Allah said, وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ وَنُمْلِي لَهُمْ. I let him live. I let him enjoy this for long. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And then what does Allah Azza wa Jal say? He says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَلَمَّا نَسُوا مَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهِ فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَتَّى إِذَا فَرِحُوا بِمَا أُوتُوا أَخَذْنَاهُمْ بَغْتَةً فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْلِسُونَ. Allah says, suddenly I snatch him. When he's in the height of his happiness and when he's in the height of his what? His joy. وقال بعض السلف, this is why some of the Imams of the Salaf, they said, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ اللَّهَ يُتَابِعُ نِعَمَهُ عَلَيْكَ وَأَنْتَ مُقِيمٌ عَلَى مَعَاصِيهِ فَاحْذَرْهُ. If you see that Allah is giving you blessing after blessing whilst you are sinning, then be warned.
Ya Allah.
Be warned. فَإِنَّمَا هُوَ إِسْتِدْرَاجٌ يَسْتَدْرِجُكَ بِهِ. It's Allah giving you this extension in these blessings during your sin, and then He's going to rip you up. فَقُطِعَ دَابِرُ الْقَوْمِ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا. Allah said, Allah ripped from the roots the evil people. And then وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Right? So look قال بعض السلف ربما مستدرج بنعم الله عليه وهو لا يعلم. It could be a man, he's literally being plotted against right now. Allah is doing this to him right now, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's trapping him in his sins and his blessings, right? ربما مغرور بستر الله عليه وهو لا يعلم. ربما مفتون بثناء الناس عليه وهو لا يعلم. Sometimes people are praising him, saying, what a great man, right? And he's deceived by it. But he has no clue. And the last thing that I'll mention here, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that, you know, this dunya, He doesn't care about it. Allah doesn't care about this dunya. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, it's not even comparable, it's not even in the sight of Allah, janaha ba'udha. It's not even the wing of a fly. It doesn't even compare to the wing of a fly. A fly is something dirty, it goes on feces, and even just one wing of it, this dunya doesn't compare. It means nothing to Allah Azza wa Jal. This dunya, Allah said, لَجَعَلْنَا لِمَنْ يَكْفُرُ بِالرَّحْمَنِ لِبُيُوتِهِمْ سُقَفًا مِّن فِضَّةٍ وَمَعَارِجَ عَلَيْهَا يَظْهَرُونَ وَلِبُيُوتِهِمْ. The ayah goes on. Allah said, if this dunya, Allah cared about it, He would have given to these disbelievers houses that are where the roofs are made of silver, right? And high places. Like, Allah gives this dunya to the disbelievers. He doesn't really care anything of it, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet this dunya is what will earn the displeasure of Allah. This dunya is what will go to war with each other over. It's what will cut family ties over. It's what will do riba over. It's this dunya that will what? Earn Allah's anger over. So it's not something small. It's not something small, right? So sorry for going on that monologue, but I think it's important to just put things into perspective.
No, I'm glad you did. Wallah.
Barakallah fiq. But with that said, there's always a solution. There's always an option. Like this brother's done.
Sheikh, I wanted to quickly mention something Brother Zarir mentioned, and it's brought up quite often in Islamic financing. Like the Sharia compliant products are more expensive.
Wallah, you read my mind now. I wanted to come to that point, please.
Yeah, so I was also from the thought process, why it's rip-off, why are they doing it? But there's nuance to it. Nuance being the word of the day.
Yeah.
So some of them...
Which merchandise that says nuance.
Yeah, so nuance, yeah. Some of them, actually, they could make it more economic, right? But they intentionally don't because it's a monopoly. It's for them, like, khalas, like
take it or leave it. What choice do you have?
Take it or leave it. What
if you want to do the right thing, pay for it.
Yeah, like mashallah, the mortgage company we have in Michigan.
The one that's owned by a Jew.
Yeah, it's owned by a Jewish gentleman, I like to say. He owns he owns a bank, and the bank owns the Islamic finance company, and it's very expensive Islamic financing. But people still get it, right? Because what are you going to do?
They sleep good at night.
Yes, that's the only option you got. Then there is the other side of it. For example, right now, as we speak, like what's the issue of the week for me? Issue of the week for me is getting the Sharia board approval first, initially, we wanted to do a DIFC fund, right? But we're actually moving it from DIFC jurisdiction to SCA, which is actually bigger than DIFC, Securities and Commodities Authority. Basically, that's the main of UAE on the mainland instead of being a free zone. DIFC is a free zone and SCA is in the mainland, right? Onshore. The main reason of moving it there is the Sharia board. Because in DIFC, the Sharia board is super expensive. Why is it expensive? It comes to supply and demand, brother. You know, sometimes. I truly believe in this case, it is supply and demand. There's 5,000 farms registered in DIFC. Only a few have Sharia window. So there is not enough demand for them to supply it. So now for them to supply it, it's actually extra cost for them to make it happen, right? Now, the only way to make it, even SCA, so we're going it, because SCA is probably 1/3 of the cost of the Sharia board, but still it's going to cost us yearly close to 60 to 70,000 USD just to keep the Sharia stamp on our fund. 60 to 70,000 USD. And it will be, and of course that fund is not just a development that we're going to do in Majan. There's many real estate products, they have to review it and whatnot. But imagine now there's more supply, right? Or I mean, there's more demand. More funds wanted, more brother Zarir, more brother Mohamed, more ourselves. Like we need this, we need this, we need this. Automatically, there will be more supply. It's just, I think, supply and demand game. Automatically, the price will come down.
That's with your Sharia board requirement. When it comes to debt facilities,
even it's more expensive.
It's completely different because at the end of the day, if a Sharia, like invoice factoring, if a Riba-based invoice factoring is taking 2%.
Don't take 10.
And a Sharia compliant one is doing 1.75. Then not only will more Muslims benefit from it, but non-Muslims will use it as well. They're not going to be like, James isn't going to be like, no, because it's Sharia. I'm not going to use it. You're going to go. You see what I mean?
I tell you what the issue is. The issue is this, in my humble opinion, is that debt is not something that you're supposed to profit off in the first place. And the Muslims, the reason why you look at it being more expensive, these Islamic Sharia debt-based solutions as more expensive, is because you're comparing it with the non-Muslims, right? These guys, they've made debt something that they can profit off of. Now, Muslims, it's not debt, right? It's supposed to be musharaka, it's supposed to be mudaraba, right? It's supposed to be a type of investment, right? And when I'm investing, if I'm deploying capital, I got the right to ask for more back. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, whether it really is mudaraba, whether it really is musharaka, or
that's the question.
That's another question, right? And I mean, till now, I have not seen one that actually is, and I think you'll agree, right? And you've seen more than me, right? But the fact of the matter is that in concept, in theory, like we don't. Debt is a sadaqah. It's a charity that loans are a charity that you give people that are in need in our religion, which is why you get rewarded for it. But when it comes to business, I'm going to give you money. No, I need it. Yeah, damn well, it's going to be expensive because I'm investing in you. I'm giving you money. I'm giving you capital. So give me more back. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's actually healthy.
Yeah, but Maryam, I agree with you in principle.
Yeah.
But then what you ask for in return has to be in line relative to what other people are getting for the similar amount of capital that they're deploying. Whether that's debt or
cost
equity or whatever.
Basically,
yes, exactly. You get what I mean? You can't say that, James is giving it to you and getting this back, but Jafar is giving it to you and getting this plus that back. It needs to be taken, even though it is an investment. That needs to be taken into consideration as well. You cannot just use the Sharia card to get more.
Go ahead, brother. You haven't spoken.
No, I agree with you, right? But I'm talking like from first principles, right? That as in, if a person's coming as an investor, right? Is coming as an investor, then he's got the right to ask for.
Brother, I'm just trying to imagine in my mind a world where these billion-dollar companies that are owned...
They're not investors, it's actually just debt.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to imagine in my mind a world where these multi-billion-dollar companies that are owned by Muslims that have banking facilities don't. And I can't see it today based on like what I see of the world at present. I'm not talking absolutely. I'm sure there are ways, but is that way, does it exist today in the world that we live in? Can they do that? Can they flip the switch? Can, like, you know, I go to my friend or his father and tell him, like, exactly what you just said, open the book and read it from, and say, he's going to tell, okay, what other option do I have?
I mean, I'll
there
listen.
is, but does it exist? That's what I'm saying.
I'll speak from my own experience. I was on both sides of the fence at one point in time, especially when I was working with my father. In the sense that, unfortunately, it's not something we're very proud of. Because we were part of a larger group that, you know, went public, and we had corporate facilities from the bank. So you get the corporate facilities on a holding group level, and then they get distributed to the subsidiaries, which our company was one of them. And unfortunately, not all of them were Islamic. But like he said, you sometimes put in a situation, especially in construction, where you have 90, sometimes 120 days lead until you get paid. Where are you going to pay your salaries? Where are you going to get paid supplies? Where are you going to do this and that? So I understand, and I'm sympathetic with how difficult it can be sometimes when you're forced in that situation. But it shouldn't change the fact, and it should not change the golden rule that it is wrong.
I agree with you 100%.
And that you should never change. What I'm trying to say is that the rule should remain the rule. And the rule is there for a reason. And I'm going to go even further and say that the rule is there for a reason, and it should never change, because the way that I view it is because riba, usury, basically is, like we said, making money out of money, but it goes a lot deeper than that. It sort of promotes laziness, and it sort of promotes this idea of really not creating the proper value.
Not only that, it should be not there, it should also be followed, because the darar of not following it.
Well, that's why I'm saying it, because what happens is the reason why riba is haram in the first place is because if you look at it over the span of a long period of time, you'll notice that the disparity between the rich and the poor gets bigger. And bigger and bigger and bigger, and the people that are stuck in the bottom will always stay in the bottom, and the people at the top will always stay at the top. And over time, you're going to find basically a slave and a top 1% sort of society, which goes against any of our teachings, and that's the main reason for it. So what I'm trying to say is that that's the key. That's the key. The key is it was put there to sort of maintain a good equilibrium in the society. Brother Sam actually told me the most interesting thing ever, and I didn't know this, that up to 70% of real estate during the Ottoman Empire was built through waqfs.
Yep.
Imagine 70% in Istanbul.
No, I told him before.
70%.
Wow.
Imagine. So imagine how much better life would be when you don't do riba.
Yeah.
So the rule is there for rule. It should not break. But we should always strive and do our absolute best to stay away from it. Because again, it goes back to the self. Like we said about immigrants. Yeah. It starts with one person. And then you compound it. But if every person does really the best that he can possibly do to avoid it, imagine how much better the society as a whole.
So I just like to comment a few things on what you've just said, right? Barakallah fi. I'm happy you guys are bringing this conversation, because these are real life situations that people are running into. So look, firstly, I love what you said. Number one, the rule is the rule. Riba is haram, right?
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, there is a concept in our Sharia called darura, right? Called necessity.
Yeah.
So when a person is in a state of necessity, they can do certain things that may be haram usually, but in this situation, it might even be obligatory for you to do.
For a temporary period of time.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So that exists. Now, the issue here is that it's not on us to make that call. The issue is that this is why it's absolutely necessary that we have scholars, we have people of knowledge, and not just any scholar, right? There are many scholars, but scholars that have combined between understanding of the Sharia when it comes to finance and the world in which we live in, right? And there's not many of them. There's more than you might think, but there's also not many of them. They're usually hard to reach. Does that make sense? But if you've got a sheikh that comes to you and he says to you, look, I have spent 30, 40 years studying the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal and understanding these different financial products and so on and so forth, and understanding the circumstances, state affairs that Muslims are in. And based on that, your situation, your circumstance, I'm telling you, this is what is permissible for you, inshallah ta'ala. Now, you are safe with Allah. You're safe with Allah. And for me, that's the
You've
culture.
exhausted your options.
You've done it. That's it.
Yep.
And this is something, a culture that I just wish and I beg our brothers and our audience to start to adopt. We talked about it briefly in the previous episode. Right? There needs to be a sheikh on your C-suite. Right?
Yeah.
Or at least you know how you hire consultants for certain jobs if you don't need the person day in, day out.
CMO, Sheikh Mufti Officer.
Yeah, you've got to have a CMO, the Sheikh Mufti Officer, man, the senior Mufti Officer, or CFO, sorry, the senior Fatwa Officer.
The woman in the workforce, they're not gonna like it, Chief.
What I'm trying to get at is that having that there because there is, like, for example, Wahid, again, I don't want to go into it in too much detail, but the fatwa that's there is that there's a principle in the Sharia, which is that a third of something, less than a third is little. Less than a third of something in our deen is considered little, right? And where this comes from is the hadith of Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anh. He wanted to what? He wanted to give all of his wealth away, or a large amount of his wealth away as charity from his estate when he died. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Athuluthu wa thuluthu kathir." He said, no, just a third, Sa'ad. And a third is a lot. So the scholars took from that anything less than a third is
not a lot.
Is not a lot. Right?
I'm going to abuse this principle.
No, don't.
No, but
leave it to the sheikh.
Not in business.
I'm saying the sheikh. So
honestly, I only did it like less than a third.
This comes in many different chapters of fiqh, right? Not just in finance. It's not just in finance. So what they're saying is look, a third and above, in terms of riba for this company that you're investing in, is too much. They're not saying you're allowed to use riba in your business. They're saying, no, if you wanted to invest in a company, right, that is engaging in riba, if it's more than a third, then no, we can't invest in that company. If it's less than a third, it could be 2%, 3%, 10%, 15%. They said then, based on this principle, we know it's little. This is not saying that you can have a little bit of riba in your business. You're investing in a company.
But what they're saying
is
what they're saying is that they can invest in my business if I have a little bit of riba.
Hear me. And by the way, I'm oversimplifying the discussion. There's so many gaps to what I'm leaving, so I'm hoping people can have the maturity to know that don't make decisions based on what I'm saying here. I'm just trying to bring some substance and context to the conversation, right? Now, the second layer is this. There's a concept in our religion called tathirul mal, which is purification of the wealth. Which is that, okay, if I know that there's only a little bit of haram in this and I didn't have control over it, now, number one, it's a little. So based on this fatwa, I can get involved. Number two, I'm going to purify the wealth. So any gains that I made that were proportionate to the amount of riba that was in that particular stock, I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to get rid of it. Does that make sense? So these are principles in fiqh. These are principles in Islamic finance, in Islamic law. And there's more nuances to it as well, so on and so forth. But what I'm saying is that these are discussed. This is the way that the scholars are looking at it.
I think this is what he meant. Like, there's always a solution. That there's our deen is very flexible. That you can find ways around.
No, so that's not what I meant, right? What you meant is that no. Yeah.
What I was trying to say is that what you meant is that there are ways where
you can necessity
where you can structure in terms of in instances of necessity.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm going one step further, and I'm saying that, okay, cool. Let's just say that you had to do something because of a necessity, and that necessity, just make sure your neck is free on the day of judgment. It's the sheikh you're going to point at when Allah asks you.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you know what he just did?
Go ahead. It's the sheikh that you're going to point at. But then at the same time, Muslims don't want to just live in necessity, right? Which is why we're talking about, okay, cool, this BDS screening, that's one step above. The fact that Wahid even had this conversation where they brought this concept of Sharia compliance to a global stage, right? And put it in lights where people are now starting to consider it at this level. Fantastic. Now, how it's about getting ourselves out of this mess. What's the next step? The next step. Do you understand? So I'm saying all of this is possible. All this is possible. Like, for example, this Waqf system. This is, this could solve the kind of problems that you're having. One of the discussions that we're having right now with some of our people behind the scenes is creating a waqf just to invest in Muslim businesses, right? We don't profit off it. The waqf profits of it. The whole concept is that you compound this wealth to create more wealth to put back in Muslim businesses. Because in this day and age, Muslim businesses struggle with liquidity. They struggle with cash flow, right? So instead of having to go to a bank, but they're going to have to what? Pay riba, or, take investors' money where they're going to have to give more away than they want to. This waqf will give them this money as a loan, or not even a loan, as an investment. Won't ask for anything back except for the gains that you give. That money will go back into the waqf to invest in more businesses.
My question about waqf.
Go on.
But before that, you know what he was trying to do with you?
What?
He was trying to do a Piers Morgan on you. He's trying to be smart. He's trying to tell you. You said but he's Piers Morgan ain't got nothing on Imran Ibn Mansur. He's like, no, that's not what I said.
No, but
what? Go on.
No, I'm saying I understood. Maybe I didn't express it properly. Is that
you indirectly attempted to Piers Morgan on him?
No, he didn't. He was being genuine. His point was
there are solutions. A person that feels very frustrated or helpless, there's a solution for him. That's what I'm saying. And there's always a way where you could really, but he said the most important is having a third party liable to give you that proper fatwa.
That's
Mariam, one day you're going to be on Piers Morgan.
Inshallah.
And it's going to be, and
they invited me,
He invited you?
They invited me, yeah.
Yeah? Bro, it would have been his dream come true to have you on.
I would have gone.
He would have brought up those viral videos from back in the day.
Anyway, go on.
Waqf, you're talking about a waqf system investing in companies, in early stage Muslim companies. Isn't waqf, for me, when somebody says waqf, the definition in my head, and I know you like definitions, is that it's the smartest way to do a charity.
No, absolutely wrong. There's a principle in the chapter of waqf, which is shart al-waqif kanas al-shari', which is that the condition that the man who makes the waqf places on the waqf is like an ayah from Allah.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
So the condition of the waqf, that this,
as long as halal,
the money is going into this asset that's going to produce income in perpetuity.
Yes.
And it should go to this purpose.
Yes.
The purpose isn't usually like some amal khair, or it could be anything.
This is amal khair though. This is amal khair.
Okay.
This is amal khair. You're thinking it has to be to muhtajeen, fuqara.
Yes, exactly.
No. It could be for whatever khair you want it to be.
Could be even Muslim media ecosystem that you want to create.
Yeah, 100%.
Could
be anything.
Any maslaha for the Muslims. Any maslaha. This is something bi'idhnillah we're working on, inshallah ta'ala. Right? If the kind of stuff that we discuss in this podcast, I'm talking about the tax strategies, the deal structures, the real conversations about building wealth the right way. If this is the kind of stuff that you want to be a part of, then this is nothing. We have an entire private network for high net worth and ultra high net worth Muslims. It's called The Cave. I'm talking about founders who've exited for 8 figures, 9 figures. I'm talking about fund managers with unicorns inside of their portfolio, operators who've built billion-dollar companies without a single penny of riba. So what you hear on this podcast, that's just the surface. Inside The Cave, you get the conversations that don't get recorded, the introductions that don't happen anywhere else, a dedicated concierge who finds the exact advisor, tax advisor, lawyer, operator, or even Sheikh scholar who specializes in Islamic finance that you need within 24 hours, inshallah ta'ala. So if this is of interest to you, you can apply, inshallah ta'ala. You can only get in through application or invitation. And most of the applications, they are declined. And the reason for that is because we realize that an effective network is not built based on who's in it, but actually who's not in it. So we really try to protect the integrity and the quality and the standard of those that are inside. So if you feel like you belong, you're a high net worth, ultra high net worth Muslim operator, inshallah ta'ala, and you want to be a part of something like this, then you can apply now at the link below in the description, inshallah ta'ala. And hopefully we see you on the other side. With that said, let's get back into the podcast.